Welcome in. It's SVPod from the home studio. Stanford Steve joins us from College Station. It is very late at night. You've already had a long day. But this is what we're going to attempt to do.
Yeah.
A little Saturday night recap. We're not staying until the end.
No.
There's some games that are still going on. I'm just going to guess that Wyoming that I gave out in winners isn't going to get there. Off to a poor start. Backed some dogs that were not the right side. We'll get to that.
Yep.
I want to begin where you are because of all the games that there were among teams in their own weight class, this was the one, and it was a rock fight, but it looked from where I was sitting, which was on my couch, to be an incredibly intense and physical game. You were there. What'd you see?
It was all it was cracked up to be, Scott. I mean, everybody wants to point to when we lose picks, but I feel like I totally nailed this game. It was exactly what I thought was going to happen. It was going to be I was talking to our buddy Cole Kubelik during the week, and he phrased it as a survival of an offensive line, and whatever offensive line survived was going to win. And I'll tell you, man, I thought Notre Dame got better as the game went on. And I'm interested to go back and watch the tape of a bunch of these games. I was, we had the show. I'm out and about, going to see people. I saw most of Georgia, saw 17-3 Miami. And then
I can fill in the blanks for you there. We'll get there.
That's what I figured. Went and checked out the scene. And before you know it, it was, it's time to go. But this whole iPad communication deal, I feel like I'm noticing teams come out in the second half with an agenda, and they're way more crisp, and I think it's going to have a positive effect on offense. I could be totally wrong, but I felt that with Notre Dame and A&M. They knew what they tried to do in the first half, and there was way more focused in the second half. I've never seen a as low a scoring game with as many incomplete passes. Like it was just A&M's guys, and that's what I thought was going to happen. A&M receivers, I love Notre Dame's secondary. They are tremendous. When you factor them in, they play defense as a whole. They're communicating in this kind of environment. I thought they were phenomenal. And that's where I thought A&M would struggle. And I thought Riley Leonard was going to be the difference because of his legs. I really did. And I'm so mad they got the field goal at the end because I said 20 points was going to win this game today on game day. And
it did for all intents and purposes.
I was all over to under. It was my favorite thing of the weekend. And it played out exactly what I thought. Both these coaching staffs, I thought did a great job for getting themselves. They both knew what they were in for, and both were up for it. And you saw, Notre Dame breaks that run, and you kind of get this lull, but it lasted maybe the kickoff in this place with their energy and their school spirit and everything they bring to the table. They rally that team, they get a drive, and then it's tied. And you're like, wow, are they going to really be able to do this after basically getting down? I mean, I thought Notre Dame had the edge all night, the early turnover. So it was everything it cracked up to be. People don't like low-scoring games. I love them. Because I'm just looking who's going to answer and take the next punch. And a credit to Notre Dame, they battled 54 to left tackle. Hold on, I gotta get his name. He's a true freshman, and he played his absolute ass off tonight at left tackle. Anthony Knapp, just in that environment as your first true college football game, I give that kid so much credit for what he did. A&M, and people are going to go nuts, they might have the best defensive line in the country, and we'll get to Georgia. But when you talk about depth on the inside and outside, I thought A&M was tremendous in watching practice Thursday and knowing what I was going to see Saturday. So a big congrats to Notre Dame. That was a hard fought, and the best thing about it is when you win a game like this, you learn so much about yourself in the first week. But most importantly, you take that step And I had said before the game, I thought the biggest step possible taken for a win this week would be A&M with Elko, knowing this new era is coming in, and they were that close to getting it, but they couldn't get it done, and that's a credit to Notre Dame.
Anthony Knapp is a freshman out of Roswell, Georgia.
Yep.
Big freshman. You walk into a true cauldron and walk out with a dub. And there are two teams that, because of today, people will just pencil into the playoff. One of them's Notre Dame. The other's Miami. We'll get to Miami. But you look at the schedule for Notre Dame, and if you want to just ignore that college football's goofy and silly things will happen, then fine. Go ahead and do that. Particularly given that the path through like the ACC is yikes. It's their schedule doesn't have a ton of landmines. I'll just put it that way between Notre Dame and the playoff. I just think it's a standalone that deserves a ton of credit because of all these games, what they did and what Miami did. True road games. You walk into it, stare into the eyes of the monster, and you walk out with a victory. So credit to Notre Dame. You were on it. Coach Corsa was on it, doing a little jig there.
LC 1-0
at 12 Eastern time. You said Georgia will get there. That was a noon window game.
Yeah.
If you didn't see all of Miami because you were out and about, let me just tell you. You pegged the Notre Dame game. Well, you and I both missed on Florida. We expected to see a whole lot more than we did. I was preaching patience to Gator fans this summer. Said you guys need to take a page out of Florida State's book. You gave Coach Norvell a little. You took a deep breath. He found some solid footing. That ain't good enough. What they were today, not good enough. However, Cam Ward is in the matrix, and he is operating on a different plane, Steve, where he has a casualness to what he's doing that almost looks nonchalant, but then you realize it's just that he's seeing shit in real time, and he's like, no, I'm good. I'm slow motion but fast at the same time. 385, 3 touchdowns, and he's going to be that all year, which is why there have been years where Miami, no one has fake swag like them. No one. Because you guys love to talk about the past, and all you got to do is get one little glimpse at it, and you're going to throw up the U and say, we're back. And you've done it in the past few years, and you weren't. Well, you are now. Because of, in my opinion, largely because of that guy. And they got some dudes on defense. They got guys across the board. But Cam Ward is what takes you from being to, in my opinion, a scary-ass team, because I think what we saw today is not a one-off. I think that's who he will be all season long.
Yeah, I watching the game, I thought Florida, came out, had a good agenda. The personal foul was brutal. That gives Miami another set of downs. They go up 7. And then
instead of a field goal, it's 7, and that's you land a punch with the touchdown.
Yep. And when Florida gets the pick, you have to score 7 there. You have to, because that place is going to erupt, and they don't. They get close, but they don't. And that, to me, was when you're Florida and you don't have much room for error, and you're trying to play buttoned up football because you know what the other team is capable of. Those are missed opportunities to me. And I
agree with that.
And going back to Cam Ward, hearing Coach Saban talk this morning after watching film of him, I mean, he was blown away. He's like, now, I don't like how he carries that ball with one hand, but man, when he's running, his eyes are always downfield. And that's the one thing I always noticed about him. I mean, for Wazoo, there's been games against Oregon, Washington, where he's running for his life, always has his eyes on the field trying to make a play. Now, I think he was the reason he threw that pick. He tried, overdoing it. He is a guy that's going to have the foot on the gas all the time. He's going to press and press and press. He's going to try and do too much a lot of the times, and you saw that, but it worked out today. Throws across the field, across his body. He's not afraid to take those chances, but that's what makes him him. He's like I said, the foot is constantly on the gas. So I was wrong. We were wrong. And
wrong.
what I say before the season, Miami's going to lose at Florida and they're going to make the playoff. And they were impressive.
They're going to win. They're going to win, and everyone's going to just say they're going to go to the playoff because they're going to look at the ACC and go, the ACC is cheeks. I don't know if that's true. There's a few things I want to mention from there, but just the eyes up downfield that you allude to, he shakes off a potential sack. I think the invitation to run is there, and he's such a capable runner, but he's like, he knows where the line of scrimmage is. He's like, nope, I got a guy tiptoeing rather on the back of the end zone down there. I'm going to hit him for 6. They answered, like, Florida had one big play to get within 7, and it felt like, or 4, whatever the hell they got within. Maybe it was 3. Whatever it was, it felt like it was a game, and then right down the field goes Ward in Miami with an answer. And, before you know it, it's a big number. And it was a massive statement both ways. Who Miami is and what Florida isn't. And, you got Florida people going, buddy, this ain't it. And good luck to Coach Napier. And all those Gator fans that got tired of Dan Mullen and going to New Year's Day bowl games. Got to be careful what you want, man. Got to be careful what you want. Their first home opening loss in 34 years. It's been a while. I want to just connect the dots on the ACC because last week, Florida State loses to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech got another win against Georgia State tonight, so they're off to a 2-0 start.
They cover.
But Virginia Tech, I believe they did, and it was awful because Georgia State should have scored a ton and just didn't.
Wow.
I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure they got there.
Wow. They only. Oh no, that was last week. Sorry. I'm checking the scores.
Virginia Tech, people spent all offseason saying this is a sneaky playoff team. You can lose early and make it because we know you win the ACC and you can go, and they still could. Their schedule's not great. We understand that. You're on the road against Vanderbilt, who's a bottom feeder in the SEC. Your fan base takes over half the stadium. You're a 2-touchdown road favorite, and you get beat. After you get off the deck and take the lead on them in the fourth quarter. And all credit in the world to the Doors, who had a chance to win it at the gun, missed a field goal, and then they win it in OT. All credit to them. But that, combined with the Florida State loss as one of their headline ACC teams, combined with Clemson getting pounded into dust by Georgia, and it creates this opening where it's like, is anyone in the league any good? And Cam Ward, Miami says, I am, and we are. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what it does is it takes this week 1 where it's going to invite everybody to just take what you see and turn it into more. You don't need a whole lot. You don't need to squint too hard to see that Miami might have a path here. Long way to go. But, man, that Virginia Tech loss in particular, just I felt like that was one of the, not the worst loss of the day, but it was on the list among teams that we talked a lot about in the offseason.
Yeah, last week in Ireland, McAfee and I were talking. He loves Virginia Tech. He picked them to make the playoff. I believe he picked them to win the ACC. And he's like, what do you think? And I'm like, when I go back and watch them, Drones is talented, and they were a team where got the old fake momentum, I call it. Their quarterback's back, their coach is back. They won their bowl game in impressive fashion. But it was against Tulane, who didn't even have their coaching staff. They didn't have their guys. And good for Virginia Tech. You got it. When you're trying to take that next step with a new coach, you got to take that. You take everything in stride. But their wins, they didn't beat anybody. They really didn't. And my question about them all year was Drones being able to throw the football consistently. And you saw it right off the get-go. They weren't ready to go. As Herbie said today, sleepy 11 a.m. kick in Nashville. The Cranes are still in the end zone. So I was really –
the Bojangles noon ACC game back in the day. That was always a tricky spot, baby.
I was really, really happy for Vandy. You get to that point where you look for an opportunity again for a program to take a next step. That's as big of a win as they've had as Clark Lee as a head coach, and it was really cool to see, to be able to bounce. Once that game went to overtime, I thought it was done. But that Pavia, man, he is a tough dude.
Well, I was just going to say that he's the reason they become a scary team just because of him.
Yeah,
just because of him. And you saw it in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to score, and then they actually came up huge. It just a couple of had a tackle for loss on third down and get a stop. It was like 4th and 10 or whatever it was. That was a surprising result. I just want to mention a couple of games, just teams that survived barely.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Tech in overtime by 1 as about a 40-point favorite. They won by 1 in overtime.
That went to overtime. Wow.
Over Abilene Christian, who was featured in the all-time worst bad beat in history. South Carolina was trailing Old Dominion, who's supposed to be bad. They're trailing with about 6.5 to go. Old Dominion has the ball. Their quarterback fumbled inside the 10-yard line. They gift wrap a touchdown. South Carolina's able to escape by 4.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon's up 3 over Idaho in the 4th quarter.
Yep.
Now, people are going to crush Michigan and say they were sleepy today against Fresno. Fresno, as we mentioned on Thursday, they'll fight anybody.
They're not
anywhere,
afraid
don't
of
care.
anyone in the world or the universe. They're not.
Yeah, and you got to kill them 5 times before they're dead. So I guess what I'm getting at here, Steve, is I think that the Michigan's was flat. They were. People will say, well, I don't know. Well, they ended up winning by 20. They get a pick 6 late. And
that got dicey.
It makes it look worse. I'm just the Oregon results, like, whoa. They weren't in danger of losing. But the highly rated teams, Michigan and Oregon, didn't look impressive. The South Carolina and Texas Tech are teams that were supposed to win by a lot. That for their fans, their fans can all go on the message boards and want everyone fired and be mad. But at least you're 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to the end of this day, that's what you want to be. And if you are, you feel great. And if you're not, you're ready to just give up entirely. One team that's 0-1, Steve, is Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious what you think about this, because Dabo said afterwards of Georgia, that's a team you can get exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's terrifying, man.
Yes.
Terrifying. Clemson's offense is not great. We understand that. But they held Clemson to 188 yards of offense. They've won 40 consecutive regular season games. You know how ridiculous that is? 40 consecutive regular season games, and they play in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
They're terrifying on defense. And they're no bargain on offense because they were slow to get going. Clemson, give them credit. They battled.
That's what I was going to get to.
They battled.
Go ahead.
But 60 minutes is a long time to be in the ring with Georgia, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want the Georgia piece. I'm interested in their schedules. They got at Kentucky, at Bama, end of September, but Clemson doesn't do anything in the portal. They went from where they were to being whatever they are, and I'm asking you, what are they?
It's obviously everybody's going to look at the final score. I saw a lot of fight in them, and before Dabo came on the show today, we're talking off air. He was super, super confident. He really had a lot of confidence in his guys that they were going to play hard, and that's not usually the case. But he was overstating the fact that he was so confident that they were ready for this spot. And when you go back to the first half, again, another team, they had their chances, unforced errors. You get a first down, you get a huge penalty, it comes back. You get down there, you have to score
a touchdown.
7. You have to do it. And Georgia, on the other hand, the way they come at you in waves, offensively and defensively, there is no one like it in college football. That winning streak speaks for itself. And what's scary about them is, and I said it going back and getting ready for Georgia this year, there's no Jalen Carters, there's no Leonard Davises, there's no behemoth D tackles in there. And there's not really a first-round pick on the defensive line. But they have an army of guys on the back end. And
that's such a great word.
And they just keep coming at you. And I'm like talking to people down there this offseason. They're like, we love our linebackers. You got to see these guys, blah, blah, blah. And then you talk about the secondary and you see what they do. And Dabo's really confident in these freshman receivers. And I'm sitting there.
They got one of the best kids in the country.
Wesco,
yeah.
Yep. And I'm watching the game, and the kid Zero, I think it's Antonio Williams, I believe is his name. He's doing a good job. But then over the course of a game, the wear and tear that pressure the Georgia defense puts on you, you saw it wearing them. And Klubnik gets a little hesitant, and that's why I said Clemson needed a fast start more than anybody playing this weekend. They didn't get it, but they hung around. It's 6-0. You get the ball, you got a chance. And they just couldn't get over the hump, and that's just because of Georgia and how relentless they are. It comes right from their head coach, and they are a problem. I'm thinking Kentucky's going to beat South Carolina next week, and game day possibly could be in Lexington for Georgia's visit, which will be fun because that place gets as jazzed up as anybody. But when 7:30 Eastern comes and kickoff, let's see what you got. And I know Coach Stoops will be fired up for that opportunity, but I really want that to happen. I would love to see that because there's nothing better than the number one team on the road. It sets up for a great atmosphere. It's what makes college football great. We sort of had that today with the big brand of Notre Dame coming in for a road game in one of the best stadiums in America. So I'm rooting for that to happen, which will be fun.
What kind of presence did Notre Dame have down there?
Big.
Yeah.
Big.
It's hard to tell in Kyle Field because it's so big.
Yeah.
And it's their green and the maroon. I don't know if this is going to sound weird, but there's certain colors that it's just obvious where the pockets of the fans are. You could see them, don't get me wrong, but I just couldn't tell. And you're never going to take over Kyle Field. You know what I mean?
No.
Like there's certain stadiums where,
they took it over walking out. I'll give them that.
Well,
they had the Let's Go Irish walking out the whole stadium.
Ask any coach in any sport. Nothing in the world is more satisfying than leaving a big-time road venue with a dub. Nothing, and they did. But going through here, all the different things from the day.
What impressed you most about Georgia?
You said it. It's relentless pressure. It's relentless pressure, and the thing about explosive teams is sometimes it feels like it's obvious all the time. With Georgia, it just feels it feels like it's inevitable that they're going to hit big plays. And they didn't even have their complement of running backs in this game. They're going to get better at that position.
That true freshman Frazier is pretty good.
When you recruit at that level, you can absorb losses and it doesn't impact you. It just doesn't impact them. You knew that Clemson's inability when they got down there to get the touchdown and the inability to ever kind of get their nose out in front or get equal with was going to be costly. And I'm looking at it through the lens of, obviously, I swat him. And I'm thinking at halftime, there's no chance that they're going to stay within this number.
We had the same conversation where we were watching the game.
Because even though the score is one thing, the game is different. And you know what I mean by that. The game ain't this score. And in 30 minutes of game time from now, it's going to be what it is. And so what impresses me most about them is that they don't have to land knockout punches to knock you out. And when I said they ground them into dust, that was sort of an intentional way. I thought, how do you best describe what Georgia does? They just pulverize you.
You know what else is amazing? Just sorry to they tackle. No. They tackle in the open field better than anyone.
And that A&M game tonight, the big runs for Notre Dame. What happened? And that was just that's missed tackles, but that's also running your ass off. Both those Notre Dame backs that scored touchdowns ran hard.
Couple mistakes and gap integrity too.
You got to have gap. I think if there's one thing, Steve, you know about me, that's one of my tenets. It's gap integrity must be maintained. But when they arrive, then you go down. If they hit you 2 yards short of the sticks, you don't get the first down. And it doesn't matter if it's a DB, a backer, or a D lineman that hits you. You fall down where you are. You don't fall forward when you play against Georgia. 40 straight wins is just unreal. When you started talking about Kirby, I laughed. I'll never forget as long as I live when he was talking to Holly Rowe before TCU. What do you want to see from your guys? Aggression. That was it. Holly's like,
you think he meant that?
Yes. He wanted them to die, and they did.
He's great.
In that noon window as well, another really impressive performance, and it was one that got disjointed by weather. As we talk very late / early on a Saturday night, Sunday morning, the Kentucky game, I think it was supposed to, I don't know when it was supposed to start, but it's still going because of
I think it's
lightning
over.
and whatever.
I think it just went final.
Well,
31.
It might have. But there was a storm that went through West Virginia that looked like the end of days, and that kind of there was the flow of the game was put on hold as a result of that. But Penn State impressed me because their defense is rugged again. They turned West Virginia aside inside the 20 early on a 4th down stop. I'm pretty sure they stopped him on another 4th down. Somehow there was a 1st down awarded that really didn't look like it was. Doesn't make any difference. They hit a touchdown at the end of the first half that felt like a rare thing for Penn State because they were ahead. It was 13-6, and it looked like they were going to go into halftime. We're good. We're on the road. We got a 7-point lead. 30 more minutes. We're good. They ran it on 1st down. Then they take a deep shot, and then they scored like 18 seconds left to go up by 2 touchdowns. And again, the way that game went, West Virginia actually should have been closer. Now they're down 14. Then there's this weather delay, and Penn State just came out of it with, I don't know if it was focus or purpose or they're just a whole lot better, but all the credit in the world to James Franklin and his Penn State team that went in there, managed that environment. Granted, it's a totally different scene once the weather clears.
Yeah.
But those folks up in West Virginia knew that the team and the all whites from State College was better. And they demonstrated it. That's a big victory for James and for Penn State. Just because, again, what did we say about what did Notre Dame, Miami, and Penn State all do? Went on the road and won. Nothing to me could be more impressive on your first week to go out and do it. There's 3 teams, Steve. Bama, Texas, and Ole Miss won 191-0. I see no reason to speak about it other than they were at home. They were supposed to win by 1 million, and they did. And it's not that it's not impressive. It's just that what those teams just did that I mentioned, Penn State, Miami, and Notre Dame, to go on the road and win, and 2 of them, by the way, Penn State and Miami, to win them by many scores, that's as loud a statement as you can make in a week 1.
I want to touch on Penn State because that was damn impressive. When I am sitting there 0-0 after the first quarter, and I'm like, okay, you feel good if you got West Virginia, but also Penn State, there was this sense of me, I'm like, you know what? I think they weathered a storm here. Like because
they didn't give up points.
Yeah. And then you saw it. What everybody wanted to see last year, Drew Aller in that massive arm, completing passes and taking shots downfield, and you talked about it. To score 20 points and get that touchdown right before the half, that was killer.
So big.
It's a killer for a team that's an underdog at home.
15-play drive for West Virginia, and you're just thinking if they can just hit it, if they can just hit this 1 and get within 3, they're right there in this game. They don't. All right, we're within 7. We're still right there. And then it was like West Virginia fans wanted it was like a 50-50, and they wanted OPI, blah, blah, blah. But even then, I think, man, they're going to get this field goal back. No, they got 6. The old Penn State offenses that kind of bogged down, those plays didn't happen. And then again, they came out of the weather delay and were just a whole lot better, and they won big. Damn impressive. That's what they were. Couple of individual performances I wanted to ask you about. I'm not sure if you caught any of Ashton Junty of Boise State. Are you familiar with what he did on this day against Georgia Southern?
I am. I had Georgia Southern. I had him as my super dog also. And I said they need to start fast because Boise State's offense is going to get rolling. And the first score I saw was Boise State 14-0. But Georgia Southern
He had 267 and 6 tutters, Steve.
Headed
267. 6 touchdowns.
Headed to Eugene next week. Interesting matchup there. If Oregon's going to play like they did this week.
Yeah, the Ducks need to be a little bit buttoned up. Another name I wrote down. Dylan Raiola, the freshman quarterback that was committed
Yeah.
Did he commit to Ohio State and Georgia? He was committed to Georgia at one point.
Penn State originally, I think.
He lands in Lincoln.
Yep.
238, couple of scores. Colorado next week.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a confident stride about him, and he's one of those, like, there's been a zillion guys that came out and were supposed to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. Because you dive in the deep end of the pool. But he earned the start, played well. Everything he does is going to be magnified because you got Mahomes tweeting about him and whatever else. It's just next week is a really interesting game for them and for Rule and for Nebraska. Mm-hmm. It feels like an enormous chance for them, for a program that we know has been stuck in neutral, and neutral's probably generous for a while. Got a chance with this 5-star kid. He's your quarterback. You beat Colorado next week. You feel like everything's as positive as it's been in a long time.
No doubt.
Is that something you guys talked at all about, either on the show or off air, just looking down the road at stuff you'll be looking at for next week?
Everybody's waiting to see what happens next week.
Right. And that's fair.
Just because of the idea of what happened last year, I feel like everybody jumped the gun a little bit with Rule and his team, and how well respected Matt Rule is as a program builder. To go, and people don't understand. I mean, I watched Temple last night, but what Temple was with him when he got there, and then to realize what he walked into at Baylor and how fast he did that. And people are just going to pick apart. He couldn't win in the NFL. That's great. You can have fun with that argument. I think the world of the guy.
How'd Nick Saban do with the Dolphins? Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
It's different conversations,
and,
man.
We jumped the gun. Everybody, I believe, thought last year he was going to have a buttoned-up team, and they couldn't get out of their own way. Turnovers were brutal, and that cost them the Colorado game. So I think everybody has had this game coming up with Colorado coming in to assess Nebraska and Matt Rule.
And that's fair. But, look, this is your first chance to see the kid, and he looked the part.
Yep. I made it a point to watch the spring game when they had it because I wanted to see Raiola. He brings it all. It's so freaking lazy when people just say Mahomes because he wears number 15. I hate it. Just watch the kid play.
He's got the glasses and
what
do
they call that? A frohawk? You ever have a frohawk?
I'm a bald guy, Steve. Have been for quite a while.
No, but to Rule's credit, what he did in the portal and getting receivers, that kid Isaiah Nair, I think he had a monster day today. I love that guy. He went to Texas from Wyoming, and the Texas staff loved him. Like, he was there in the mix with Worthy. He was there before Mitchell, and he tore his ACL right before camp 2 years ago, and then he still has the time to transfer to Nebraska. Let me see. I know he had 6 catches, 121 yards, and a tud today.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah,
he was their leading receiver, and 121, I should say.
Yeah, that touchdown. You got to do that.
Jamal Banks had a touchdown as well.
Jamal Banks, also a big day. Washington, D.C., I'd love to know where he went to high school. Anyway, I love what Rule did.
You look at their schedule. And this Colorado game is a monster launch pad because
they can win 10 games if they win this week.
It's that big a deal.
Yeah. And it's, I was hoping to see Florida back to what I know the Swamp is.
Nope.
But Memorial Stadium in Lincoln next week, it's going to be awesome.
And you know what I said earlier about
such a good place.
I couldn't agree more. And I said this earlier about Miami. No one has more fake swag than you, but I love you because your real swag is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I want Miami to be good, and I think they are, as we said at the very beginning. And because of Ward, I think you're going to be all year. I pull for Nebraska fans because no one deserves it more. No one.
They're the best fan base in the sport.
There is not a fan base in any sport that would have shown the loyalty that you all have shown through these dark times. Mm-hmm. A cynic could say, what else are you going to do there? I've not been. I don't know. I'm sure it's lovely. I'm sure there are many options, but not as many as there are in other places. Mm-hmm. And you all have been loyal beyond reason, and that loyalty, I hope it gets paid back to you, because you've earned it. You've earned it. And now here comes Coach Prime and Colorado off a 5-point win over the Bison from North Dakota State on Thursday. We followed that game. I would just say this to Nebraska fans. I would do whatever you can to try to stop 12. I don't know how you're going to do it. Travis Hunter's pretty good.
My God.
Right?
I got to ask you, like, I've watched it a billion times. The catch in the end zone, how he catches that ball is...
we were talking, I was talking with Mark and Roddy Jones in the break before, like, okay, so just inside TV.
There we go.
You do these cut-ins.
You love cut-ins. They're like your favorite thing at TV, right?
Love the cut-in. I don't love the cut-in when I'm upstairs and they say you have to go down and do the cut-in. Anyway, we're in the cut-in, and I told them what I told Travis after the game, that I have 2 young sons and they argue over who gets to be Colorado because they want to throw the ball to 12. And Roddy Jones said that catch was like a glitch in the game. It didn't look like a human could make that play. And of course, he's out there on the field at the end of the game because he plays both ways. He's defensive back as well. So, Shedeur Sanders, by the way, it looked like that arm strength took him.
Oh man! First thing I noticed. First touchdown, that hitch route he throws. That's
NFL throw.
Oh God! Across the field, 5-yard hitch on outside the numbers. That's big boy stuff. And that was
hand
awesome.
Cannon is what the man has. Yep. So that's what we've got next week. But just looking at the card, I'm just, jotting these things down throughout the day. One other name I wanted to mention. I mean, and obviously it's a Saturday. If there's a zillion things people see, the young man that I thought was going to go to Miami that actually went to Ohio State instead was a hotly contested NIL bidding war. Jeremiah Smith, right? Coach Day said afterwards, he's just built different. 6 grabs, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, true freshman. It's Akron, fine.
Akron covered.
Yes, they do. They were getting 50, Steve. Got there. But I have
Did you watch much of them?
Almost none.
Yeah, I didn't see.
I kept trying to catch them on offense because I wanted to see 4.
Yeah.
And I saw one grab at it, and then I saw the catches for touchdowns on. I
don't know if I told this story about Jeremiah Smith on this pod. I've just Chip Kelly said Ohio State did a big Winter Olympics where they threw in different, just a contest where guys would compete, and they did different events, but they did all the NFL Combine stuff too. And Jeremiah Smith broad jumped 11.2. He's I think he said he was 17 years old. He turned 18 last spring. 11.2 would have been the best at the NFL Combine this past year. That's how crazy this kid is.
Teenager.
Yeah. I'm dying to go back and see what Ohio State did offensively. I'm dying to see how they go about it with Chip calling the plays. So I'll dive into that for the next pod for sure.
He's nasty. Hunter's nasty. Still, though, if we're starting with receivers in college, McMillan out at Arizona, who he's got, and we're going to be done before their game is, but as we speak at this late hour, 7 grabs, 248, and 4 touchdowns. Holy smokes, that guy's a monster.
Yeah. The guy throwing it to him is pretty good, too.
Also true.
Did you catch any Alabama?
I watched enough to just see Milroe look really good. He had all day to do whatever he wanted. Their O-line was giving him time to both pass, and the gaping holes that were available to run through were that. But look, we had Kalen DeBoer on our show last week, and his charge is to kind of keep the train up and running. But I appreciated the way he said it. He knows who he is, and he's a confident guy, not in an off-putting way. I mean, he's just saying, just try to build on it. He knows he walked into a great situation, and I mean, they look like nothing changed. That was my. I mean, granted, all respect to the toppers. I mean, you're supposed to win by a lot, and they did, but looked like Alabama.
Okay. Did you catch Wisconsin last night?
No, I know there was a.
They do not win that game if the punt doesn't go off the back of the kid's shoulder for Western Michigan. I felt that's horrible for Western Michigan. That's
what everyone said.
Oh God. And
that's what everyone said. I was watching Florida Atlantic and wishing I gave them out, particularly now that I realize that I may actually no, I won't. I will have a winner because UNLV got there, but
there we go.
I didn't. No, not really, Steve.
Come on,
there's no there we go.
We got SC tomorrow, right?
We're gonna need that one. Gonna need that one.
Did you catch much of game day?
Yes and no. I started early, but had wife and I had a big day with some garage cleanup, Steve. We were kind of in and out.
You don't have anything in your garage.
See, that's not true.
Oh,
that's not true. See, there's a detached garage that sits beneath where this
that garage,
new
the other
garage.
garage.
There was, yeah, there could have been dead bodies in here, and I knew who would have known. Oh, that's the corpse pile.
Did you put my cot down?
No.
All right.
No. We just were kidding. So, what are you asking about specifically that I saw some stuff that Saban was doing. I saw the kid get the kick.
Yeah.
I saw you talking about a number of different things. I was rooting for picks to do well.
Yep. We're 500 right now.
There you go. Better than me.
No, it was unbelievable. The end of the show. I can't tell you how much fun today was. Just seeing this place, man. People make fun of it because they never went here and. They spend all this money and they have everything here is brand freaking new. Everything. I went for a swim at their pool. It's incredible how nice their pool is. Their buildings, their facilities, everything is so good, but they just don't have championships. And it sucks. They're starving for it. And we get there. Johnny's on set. He makes the pick. Coach Corso comes out and does his leprechaun. And Coach Saban's sitting next to Reese, and Reese is getting ready to throw to, I think, the Vandy game. And I could see him. He's like, I have to say one thing, Reese. I have to say. And Reese is like, we're getting the count in our heads, and everybody's on the set. I mean, Pat's got his shirt off. Johnny's fist pumping the crowd. Coach is dancing with the Notre Dame mascot, and Nick hits Reese, and he's like, I can't believe this. He's like, I never knew what this was. He's like, I can't.
How much fun it was.
This is so much fun, and. To hear Nick Saban say "fun," I'm literally standing 5 feet from it.
Everyone reacted to that, Steve. I mean, they had the same reaction that you had. The difference is you were there and you saw it. So keep going.
Seeing him say that's and sorry, I haven't done much social media. I tried sending a video out of Notre Dame coming out of the tunnel today, which was, I was almost in tears of how loud that play. Like I was super jacked for this game, but so I haven't seen any. The phones didn't work. Just put it that way. You know how it is when you go. No,
they never do.
So I didn't see any social media about this, but to see Coach say that in that environment, it was like, wow. Like he really didn't. He has no idea the way he was lying for so many years. And I wanted to ask him today on the air, and I didn't have the time. I was like, it's the first Saturday he hasn't run out of a tunnel, like in 40 years. And that was the really cool thing, talking to Elko Thursday after practice, who's a great guy. I love that guy. And I said, you coached there, like, you know what this place is going to be Saturday night. And he looked me dead in the eye. He goes, Steve, I've never run out of the tunnel. When I was here, I was a defensive coordinator. I just took the golf cart to the press box, and then he's like, I can't wait. And their intro.
I watched that scene, and you could see the 12th man that had the flag, and he was standing right next to Coach. And I'm looking at him going, what is that? Is that a smock he's wearing?
Oh, he went hoodie.
I
asked him.
I know. It's just enormous. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at his face. Because you know how much I love that. Remember when it was Les Miles. I asked Les Miles specifically, they were getting ready to play Alabama. And I asked him about, because his favorite thing was always calling Baton Rouge when he was the coach there. And I asked him about the tunnel, and I asked him about that, not the first time, but that last time. And I asked him to try to describe the feeling in the 5 seconds right before you run out. And I'll never forget, he goes, yeah, what is that? I said, I'm asking you. And he's like, and it was just that feeling. And so for Coach Elko to get to feel that for the first time, but then isn't it cool, Steve, that the guy that's felt it forever sitting with us, meaning you, that how much joy, and that everybody that reacted to that was like, holy shit, it's like the Grinch's heart grew 10 sizes.
I can't get over how awesome he was today in this environment and talking like he nailed Clemson to a T. Just talking about you got to eliminate if you're going to get better. He said everything Clemson has to do to get better is fixable, and he's like turnovers. You can't turn the ball over. Third down, you got to score touchdowns instead of kick field goals. You do that, and you'll be all right. Guess what? They didn't do it. It's just so matter of fact in black and white the way he puts things. I'm sure everybody saw his comment about the $20 million. I can't. I learned so much, and he does. I mean, you know how quick our segments are on our show, and
sure,
guys are bouncing and throwing to each other. Everything he says, you get something out of. I can't overestimate how awesome it is to be around him. In 2 weeks, I feel like I've learned so much.
Well, and the thing that's so good about that show is I think that you've got a lot of time, and you guys have won awards for years and years and years. So the people that are in front of and behind the camera are smart enough to figure out. And in our business, you got these things called rundowns, and you're just going to figure out when Coach Saban's talking, we're going to give him some slots in the rundown, let him go, let him air it out. And if it means that somebody else doesn't get to talk as much, well, then I assume that I'll probably be all right with the guys that are sitting next to him.
Yeah, it's a feeling out process. It's a show-to-show process. And the best thing, Scott, you'll love this. Mm-hmm. The best thing, I'm standing with Reese on the sidelines of the game tonight. And we're just talking about the show as we always do. I love, he's a freaking maestro. He's got another guy on the desk, and he still just dances around like nothing. And he said he was in the car with Coach Saban after the show. Coach Saban has the rundown in his hand. He's like, Reese, what did you think when I did this? Like, immediately wanting feedback. Like, it's so genuine and good. I keep like not pinch myself or whatever, but I'm like,
that's all right. I think we get it.
It's awesome. It's so good. He's just the best, and he's so freaking smart. So smart.
When Jason Kelsey came down here in July, we went out and spent some time together just in advance of doing exactly what it is that Coach Saban is doing. And he said to me, I've always responded well to coaching. I want to be, and I said, good, because I think if you're great at something and you slide into a new role, and we've had people that weren't interested in being coached because maybe they didn't care or whatever else. But I think people that are great at things want to be great at whatever they do. Saban didn't do this so that he could suck at it.
No.
Right?
Nope.
And I'm sure, I guarantee Bill Belichick will be the exact same way, whether it's Manning casts or the stuff he's going to do with Pat. I mean, and isn't that instructive that somebody that's the all-time of all times is in the rental car with Reese. Now, when we were in the B's and we were talking about Big Ten, like, was I tight there?
Yes.
Was I?
Yes.
That's, I can picture it.
All right.
And he's doing the hands, right? You know what would be funny? If you put some kind of weighted blanket on his hand to see if he could speak. I guarantee it would be hard. That's why, I hold this big ass heavy pen. I need.
You taught yourself that, though, right?
That's exactly right.
You know what that is? Self-coaching.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Well, it's because but look, Boomer. No one's ever talked more on TV with his hands than Boomer. But if this heavy pen, if it's in my hand, my hands come to rest. But I think, I mean, everyone knows Nick talks with his hands, but Nick also talks with his brain. And that's really cool. Interesting stuff. Anything else you want to mention in the day? Because otherwise, it's been a hell of a long day. I know you got up early, and at some point, your voice is going to run out.
Yeah, I'm not going to probably sleep. I got a 6 a.m. flight, so
there we go.
I'll watch Arizona here. Yeah, I was pumped you got Travis Hunter. I am blown away. You know, he has that brutal injury last year, and it's how rough that must have been for him, because he just came out and absolutely dominated, and then it was just ripped away from him. And how long this run has been for him and that team. You know, they get talked about more than anyone, and they bring it upon themselves. And to line up and do that, there was a couple times there where you wondered how they would respond, and it's really, really cool to see. I know everybody wants to talk about the money that these guys are getting nowadays and stuff like that, but it's been we tried to get it as much as we can, but there's so much good stuff, and that's why it's the best. It's the energy today was freaking incredible. So we got new air conditioning things.
The vests?
No, they put them on your seat. We had them yesterday. I thought was hotter, so we did College Football Live. I did Daily Wager, Sports Center.
So it's like an refrigerator?
I thought I was going to get frostbite on my ass. I really it's just a cold plate, and you sit on it, and I was like, wow, that
it was effective.
Helps. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm happy. Everyone just pray for Steve's ass, everyone. I'm with you on you spent what?
Snake Pit. Did they score on the first play of the game?
Nah, it just went right down the field. 50-7.
Wagon.
1-0.
Wagon. Big one next week.
You spent all year waiting for these Saturdays.
Yes. Sorry, I don't want it to end.
It'll be that Thanksgiving week before you know it. Always, it's a rocket ship, and it's just boom, it's over. But now it's just starting. So we're present in this moment. It's late at night. We're going to try to do this every Saturday night and travel safely back home. Week 1 in the books mostly. Just going to say to folks that are riding with me with Wyoming, shout to Dax Crum. They're not going to get there.
No. That was Reese's super dog today.
He liked Wyoming?
He has Wyoming. Herbie and Corso get a jump. So what we do, I don't know if you've...
It's 48-0, Sparky.
What is it?
48-0.
They had a bunch of injuries, too.
Yeah, well, they're ahead by 48. I'm getting 7.
Yeah, Coach Corso and Herbie had Vandy today. So they get 5 points for the cover, and you get the difference of what they were underdog by. So those guys are up 18. I got 5 for a cover with Georgia Southern.
Okay.
So
I'm 1-4 going into the Sunday night standalone game. So
we got I called
not very good.
Best uniform game tomorrow night. SCLSU.
That's a great call.
SCLSU is pretty damn good.
I want LSU in the white helmets.
Yeah,
they won't have them. That's a home game.
And by the way, I just keep getting texts. The idea of Baton Rouge people in Las Vegas is just they don't stop.
Well, no, but see,
and the game being Sunday night is a bad mix.
Here's what I'd say. Most people go to Las Vegas and then maybe they drink more. They find some gear that they otherwise don't possess. People from Baton Rouge,
they get off the plane running.
This is standard operating procedure. Oh. It's a weekend, it's a weekday. Who gives a we are here to drink all of what you have. Okay?
They're the best.
Truly, truly. We love them with all our heart. All right. That's a wrap on week 1. Go get them, Wyoming. And we'll see you We'll see you on Tuesday. We're going to see you on Tuesday. During the football season, looks like we're going to go Saturday night. So you'll hear this Sunday morning and Tuesday. Okay. That's in pencil.
All right.
All right?
You got it.
Ready, break.